Hey guys, welcome back to Young in Faith. I'm here with another episode. I'm so excited what God's gonna do through this time. I got a guest today, and his name is
Jariel. Cruz.
Jariel. Come on, bro.
All right, bro.
I had to cut him real quick, but Jariel is a senior at Forest Hill. He's graduating. He's only been here for about how many months?
Like 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months. He goes to Journey Church where we met. But I seen this kid grow up the past couple months, and his wisdom, his spiritual rights he even gives me, and just the way he lives his life is just amazing. But I know like today that someone told me really just to bring you on, honestly, because we have talked, right? We have had conversations,
Yeah.
and I mean the conversations have been big. Like, we talked about some
Like
deep
20,
stuff.
20, 30 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, 20, 30 minutes. Like, when you talk to somebody for 20, 30 minutes, bro, it's a deep conversation. It's a deep conversation. And but we talked about really good stuff. And I was like, bro, I need to bring you on Young in Faith because you need to share your story. And that's really what it is about today. Like, honestly, we're going to create a space where we're going to share some stories, share some wisdom with you guys. But Gerald, tell me a bit about your season. Tell me a bit about, like, your journey. I mean, you only been here for a couple months, so kind of, like, share a bit about that.
So basically, my mom been serving God for like about 7 years. So I kind of like grew up in that aspect of Christianity and just having some sort of belief and faith in God. But when I actually like submitted to Him and just started like to die to myself and just actually look and like grow in a relationship with God, I would say it's through my moving process. So I'm originally from Philadelphia, and beginning freshman year, I moved to Florida. I lived in Orlando area for about like 3 years. Middle of the senior year, God just spoke kind of, hey, time for you guys to get up out of, move to your promised land. And now we recently just got here to West Palm Beach. We've been here for about beginning December.
Okay.
We kind of just been here rocking it out. And that kind of really helped me like just realize and like mature and open up my eyes like how real God is and how real life is, especially. In Davenport, I wasn't lost. I wasn't like fully into the worldly things, but I was definitely distracted. And I feel as though if the enemy has you distracted, then that's all he kind of really needs.
Yeah.
And that's that. We kind of moved out here, and that's when I really had like that awakening call. I had this friend Dario randomly. I was asking God like for something new. I felt like I lost everything. Like not so much like I lost everything physically. I lost my friends. I had to come out here and start a whole new life. And that was kind of hard. So I asked God for friends, and He kind of provided friends. I met Dario through another friend, AJ.
Yeah.
One day we went on the field, and AJ was like, "Hey, like y'all gonna be really good friends." Cause he's like, "Hey, I know I got this like Christian friend. Y'all gonna get along very well." And then Dario one morning, I asked him if he had a church one night actually, and he was like, "Yeah, I go to two." At the time, he was still going to one near his neighborhood, and then Journey. And I'm like, "Nah, Journey sound more like me." Like, and when I seen it on Instagram, I did my research. It sounded and it looked like something that I was interested in. And the next morning, I took out and I went to Journey. And it was just like something super different. Like the church I was going to in Orlando was more like a religious church. It wasn't one of the it was a nice religious church. It was cool. It was Pentecostal, and I was in through that process, through that journey of Pentecostal, for like a good 6 months, 7 months, just kind of through that tradition. But then Journey was just like this is me. Like this is something more modern, more not so much liberal, but this is my vibe. Like I like this. Just the youth there, the community that I found through Journey, and just being a part of that community has been awesome. And through that, I came right before the 21-day fasting thing that they were starting. So that kind of helped me so much. And I just kind of like locked in with God so much. And throughout the 21 days, it was just straight growth. Like getting up at 6, fasting, going on runs, going to the gym, practicing baseball. Like I was fully on fire for God.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I moved that I found and I woke up like, wait, like, in Davenport, I was so distracted. I was so caught up in the everyday living and like just hanging out with friends, school, home, and like just so distracted. I was never intimate with God. I never realized how important it was to be in intimacy with God and like actually seeking okay, I believe, or God this and God that, God do this, but I never had that intimacy with Him. Like I never fully sat down and like said like, yo, like I actually need to fast. I didn't know what true worship was or true praise was. So I moved and I'm like, wait, like there's so much more to the world and to God. And that's basically just how I ended up out here in West Palm Beach. And now I've just been straight grinding. And I found a community that just helped me like understand so much more, that there's so much more to God. It's not just, go to church and go home. No, like there's so much more to God than just what the people try to portray it as. Like there's so much more to Him. And being a young following Christ is not the easiest because it's
Yeah.
definitely been like trials and tribulations, but I've found it to make it work. Like I found a community that's helped me make it work, and that's
Yeah.
basically just how that went.
That's awesome, man. Can you share a bit? Because you already just told everyone, like, you grew up in church. Like, you know what
Yeah.
church is. You have a spiritual mom. I mean, you already had those experiences. You grew up in that realm. What can you say to that one kid that's kind of struggling with, like, living for the world, but also trying to live for God? Because if you've been in church for so long, it becomes your norm.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I think you didn't want
Comes
for
like
yourself.
what's the word I'm looking for? Not a religion. It becomes like a
Like your norm, like your
yeah, like something you just get used to doing,
you
like a
get used-
routine.
yeah,
A
routine. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Basically, I used to be that kid. Other day I was with my friends and they was talking about how I didn't have a gray area in my life. That I was just like a yes or no person. And I'm like, I still think about that. And I got home and I'm like, God, like is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? I was in the shower just wondering. And God kind of like spoke to me and said, no, you do have a gray area. And that's the area that a lot of us youth be in.
Yeah.
We have God and we have the world. And we're always kind of in that gray area in the middle, like, okay, I want to please God, I want to do God's will, but then I also want to go out and party and be part of my friends and hang out and do things like listen to the music of the world and just practice all that. And there was a good time in my life where I was just straight stuck in that, like in the middle, like I wanted to be comfortable. It wasn't because it was hard or because it was easy. I just like the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that's what I call the gray area. The gray area is like a comfort zone for us Christians. Like, you know what, God, like I'm gonna give you this, but I want to hold on to this. You understand?
Right.
And to those kids, I would just say, like, try your best to get out of the area. Try your best to stay on fire for Him and just kind of constantly, things that have helped me through this journey is fasting. Fasting is one of the biggest and most important things. Like,
That's big.
fasting is super important. And then also just seeking Him, like, actually getting into your word. There was times where I didn't even understand what I was reading. But I would read it because it would do something in the spiritual realm. It would unlock certain things that I didn't have unlocked at the moment. It would unlock, like, certain... Like, I would grow spiritually without even knowing it, just by reading my words. So, like, for kids that are in that gray area, I would just say, like, find a community, start actually praying and fasting, and, like, just surround yourself around people that are going to help you grow. Like, you don't ever see chickens with eagles. So you kind of want to surround yourself around eagles so you can elevate and fly. And there was a time in my life where I had to actually isolate myself and, like, get away from people that weren't going to benefit me and find the people that were going to help elevate me. And I found that through the journey. Like, when I found them people that were going to help me and push me and motivate me, I'm like that's what I had to do to get out the gray area. Like, I actually had to want it.
Yeah.
Because also, like, you could find a community, you could fast, you could pray, you could do all of those things. They're super important. But you got to want it. Like, God could only do so much, and, like, your people, like, your surrounding people, like, your environment can only do so much. The people around you can only do so much. Like, you have to actually want that change of heart, that change of mind, and that change of, like, life. Like, you have to get to the point where you're like, you know what, God, I surrender. Like, I'm tired of, like, living the way I'm living.
Yeah.
And you got to want that change.
Yeah. And that's big, man, because how many of us, we want something, we really don't want it.
Yeah.
Because we think God has to do all the work. And the truth is, it's on the Holy Spirit's job, it's your job, and it's God's job as well. But, you know, God wants more than ever for you to find and experience the true life that He has for you. But if you're not willing to put in the work and really to step out on faith, like, how will you ever experience it? And I always think of my life. I'm like, man, when I was in high school and I didn't make the decision to give my life to Christ, you know, where would I be now?
Yeah.
You know, where I wouldn't be able to see the life and experience all the gifts that God had for me. And that's really what I want to encourage you guys with. You need to step in and step out of your comfort zone. You know, step out of your comfort zone to experience all that He wants to do in your life, because whether you see it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you know it or not, there is something over your life that He wants to do through you, in your family, in your friend group, at your school, that is going to be so big. And it just, I'm speaking from experience because that was my life. You know, random kid from San Lucia's high school that was the outcast, that was made fun of, but now it's in the middle of that process, I was serving the Lord. People were coming to me for advice. People were seeking to me for spiritual wisdom and all these things. And it only happens when you step out. It only happens when you put both feet in, not one feet.
When you get out that comfort zone.
Yeah, like it has to be both feet in, be planted.
Yeah. I was talking about that with somebody. Like you gotta, when you get out of your comfort zone, you're forced to produce.
Exactly.
Like, you're
Wow, that's good.
forced to make something happen. Like, us moving to West Palm Beach, it wasn't like, obviously we didn't want it. God wanted it for us, right?
Yeah.
So now, and we don't understand why at the moment. It's like, God, like, why? Like, we're good where I'm at. I was good where we was at. I had a nice house. I lived in a private community. I lived where celebrities lived. I had a golf car. I had a 2020 car. My parents had cars. We were good financially. We didn't have to come to West Palm Beach to struggle and try to, like, build something new. And I realized, like, one day after a service at Journey, I was with a friend, and God kind of just, like, directed us home. And we had different plans, but I let myself be led by the Spirit. And he had different plans, so we ended up going home. And on the way home, I became so vulnerable to my friend, and I was just telling him, like, everything that I felt and I was going through, and I was like, and it allowed me to realize that I was so focused on what God promised that I didn't see what He was doing. And through the midst of that, God
spoke to me, bro. Through
the midst of that, God did so much. Like, He never gave me more, He never gave me less. He always provided what I needed through the journey of moving. And I'm like, wait, God, like, through this process, you've made me more mature. Through this process, you've made me more independent. Through this process, you brought more unitement to my house. Through this process, you brought breakthrough. Through this process, you delivered me. So that's when I started thinking, like, wait, God, you haven't gave us the mansion you promised, or you haven't gave me the wife that you promised, or the finances you promised, but you've done this. And I feel as though a lot of us forget that those are the things that we need to fix first, so then the add-ons can come. God can't give us the add-ons if He don't work within us first. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if God doesn't teach us how to love, how could He give me a wife if I don't know how to love yet, or if I don't love myself? And that's when I became to realize, like, wait, like, this moving process, that's why I say it's helped me so much, because I've grown so much spiritually and mentally through this process of seeking God. And that's why I encourage every youth out there to actually seek God. Like, it's so, like, the world doesn't have nothing to offer. Like, God is literally everything.
Yeah.
And I've realized that through my own encounter. Like, I know a lot of us youth go to church and we see the elder guys and this about God, but, like, this is coming from me. I'm only 18. I decided to give my life to Christ young because I've encountered Him. I've wanted that change. And that's back to what I was saying earlier, like, you got to want that change.
Yeah, that's big. That's big. What came in my mind right now is the palace to the promise. The palace could be the place of you just being comfortable, the place where you're living your best life, and in your spot, bro, you had everything that you ever wanted. I mean, your family was
good.
You guys were good, and God has called you to give all that up to move to
basically
West Palm
like
Beach.
a Job experience. It was crazy, yeah.
You know,
but,
so tell me a bit, like, for the people that are listening, right? That, because we live in a generation right now where everybody wants to get rich quick.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to get money, all these things, pile up all, and we have, and really on social media and everywhere, we're taught to just, to believe and
that thing's just gonna come.
Just gonna come to you like that.
Yeah, you don't gotta do nothing.
But
Boom.
you were in that spot where you had everything. Now you have not lost, but God has transitioned you out of that. What can you say to that person that wants everything but doesn't know how to appreciate what they have right now?
Yeah, I wouldn't say, to go back real quick, I wouldn't say I lost, just because I've gained so much spiritually. And to me, that's so much more important because it's brought me to become the person I am today. Nothing, no materialistic stuff, nothing in the world, no finances, no house, no car, could make you become mature and make you a better person. That comes through spiritual growth. And I've lost so much physically. My family has lost so much physically. But we've gained so much more spiritually that the rest becomes irrelevant. Now when the add-ons do come, it's like, God, like, thank you. Like, I know how to value those things.
Yeah.
Because you've took them from me. You understand?
Yeah.
But it wasn't to punish me. It wasn't to hurt me. It was to benefit me on the long run. And to that person that I would say, like it's not, I got a friend in school and we talk about this all the time. Like, it's not how fast you become a millionaire. It's not how fast you get to wherever you want to get to. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the trials. Enjoy the tribulations. That's going to help you grow. That's going to take you to where, like, you're going to get to that and realize that don't mean nothing. The house doesn't mean nothing. Once you have the house, like, okay, I have the house. Now what's next? That void is always going to be empty. And I try to preach that to everybody. Like, God's love and like God's the only thing that can fill that void in you. No car, no expensive house, nothing, nothing. There's nothing in the world that could replace that void in your heart. And I try to preach to him all the time. It's not how fast you get there, it's how long you like maintain there.
Yeah.
And if you don't have God as that foundation, you won't last very long up there.
Yeah.
So I be telling my friend, like, it's not how fast I make it up there. It's not how, I can make it there in 10, 30 years. I want to make it up there and stay up there.
Yeah. That's right.
And that's why it's really important to set God as that foundation.
Let's talk about the waiting.
Oh, the waiting season. Oh, my God.
Woo, we talked about it the other day.
Hey,
okay.
that season hurt.
The waiting season, just so everybody knows, like, I'm very transparent. So the past 2 years has been a waiting season. I've been waiting for a lot of things and God's promise. And I'm like, what's crazy what you just said is like, sometimes we're so focused on the promise or we forget the journey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it made me think like, man, am I just so focused on the promise where I'm forgetting what God is doing right now in the midst? And despite how it feels, I don't have to like how it feels to like where it takes me to.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So in the waiting, it is tough. Like whoever's like listening and you're waiting on something. Maybe you're waiting for, I don't know, a breakthrough in your house. Maybe your parents are struggling financially. Maybe you got fights at the house. Maybe you're like, God, when will you free me from this addiction or this lust issue or maybe this depression that you're going to, anxiety. We're all waiting for something. And
it could be the minorest thing, like anything, and like it's worth the wait. Like the wait is what's gonna help you. How I said, like the more you wait, the longer you'll have it. Like think about it. Money comes quick, it leaves quick. Yeah. Now if it's hard earned money, it's gonna last. Yeah. If you work for something, if you build something so firm and like if you build that foundation, like it'll be hard to knock it down. It'll last their endurance. It'll last longer. So that's why it's like so important. That's why I feel as though we all have to go through that waiting season. So like when it does come, we know how to cherish it and value it. Because if we just get it quick like this, it's like, oh, I got it, boom, that's it. Yeah. It's not a punishment. It's to help us. And I feel as though a lot of people forget that. Like it's just to benefit us. And I've gotten to that point in life where I say like, God, let it be your will. Yeah. Let your will be done in my life.
God is not punishing you; He's pruning you.
Yeah, and that pruning season hurt, though. Let's talk about that.
Pruning, yeah, I want to throw in the towel, bro. Yeah. I want to take, oh my God. I saw that meme. I was telling Katie, I was like, I saw that meme where it said, God, if I'm on God's 2023 list, his warrior list, take me out. I don't want to be on it. Because
it's tough.
When let me tell you something, when you really sell out to God and you're really on this journey for him, it is not easy, but it's so worth it. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to struggle regardless. Yeah. You're going to have to go through stuff regardless. So why don't you go through your stuff with the one who can can walk you through it, that can actually teach you something in the process. Because I never, ever want to go through something without benefiting something out of it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So
not because you want to benefit out of it, but like you at least make it worth something.
Yeah, like make it worth it. Because we have to. It's all about perspective through life, right? So if I'm waiting on something, it's like, well, I'm not waiting. I'm preparing. Yeah, exactly. You got to change your perspective. Like I'm not waiting. You got to change
that mind, that mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, like if I'm waiting for something, I'm actually preparing for something because God got something at the end. If I'm, struggling with this, I'm actually fighting off. That temptation and building muscles to overcome that. If I'm, low right now, maybe I'm learning how to be humble in my low spot, so I understand how to be faithful and be obedient in the high spot. So.
Yeah. I feel as though a lot of people, like for an example, people be like, oh, like why pray, or like why do I have to do this, or why do I have to do that, or why go to church, or why do I need a community? This is my biggest example, and it can't get more like common sense than this. Is like the gym. Everybody want to have that summer body. Everybody want to be fit. Everybody want to look good for themselves. Yeah. It's like
I'm trying to get that summer body. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
It's like you gotta dedicate time to the gym. Like yes, you can stay home. Yes, you can work out at home and do push-ups and do all that. But when you go to the gym, it's something different that happens in the gym. You get motivated by your surrounding. You need to go to the gym so you can produce the muscles. You got to take certain supplements like protein, etc. There's a requirement that you need to do. when it comes to growing muscles and strength. Same thing when it comes to God. Just a spiritual part of it.
Yeah.
When it comes to growth spiritually, you gotta feed that spirit.
Yeah.
You gotta, and how do you feed it? It's like the gas. I be saying like a car. A car don't run on water; it run on gas.
Yeah, that's big.
So like we need Bible. Like we need Bible to feed our. That's like our gas. Like that's what's gonna help us like push and keep going. Without Bible, without prayer, without certain things, you can't grow spiritually. You can grow. You can grow a little bit of spiritual faith and muscle at home. But it's more beneficial when you go to church, when you find that community, when you surround yourself around people that are on your same journey. When you go to the gym and you see people working out and benching 300 and squatting 500, like when you see people doing that, it motivates you to want to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
So when you go to church and you see people worshiping and you see other youth on fire and you see people seeking that relationship with God, it makes you want to do it more.
Yeah, that's right.
It basically sets that fire in you.
Yeah.
And that's why I encourage so many of you guys, like, seek community, seek church, like find somewhere where you could call home, and not so you could depend on it, but just so it could set that fire in you, so you could start knowing what God, like what truly is, to build that relationship with God and how important it actually is. And you'll see that through your community. And I've realized that because I've experienced it through my community. I've seen my spiritual growth, and I've seen how I've impacted others through them just being there sometimes.
What about the people that are, they feel like they don't need a community. They feel like they're good by themselves, or they experience hurt from another community, or church hurt, or people that had hurt their relationship. They just want to be by themselves.
I feel as though that's when it comes to where's your foundation at with God. I think it's very, very important. I wouldn't say become selfish. I wouldn't say I would just say you got to have that foundation set with God. So nobody could be able to hurt you. Understand? Yeah. Set that foundation where it's just you and God so intimate that no church, no community, no person could ever hurt you again. Because you're so firm on God that it's like you know who you're called to be.
Yeah.
So when you set that foundation as God, and that's why I encourage you guys to do it, like nobody can remove you from that rock.
Yeah.
Once you stand on that rock and you know who's behind you, you like, yeah, no, you can't hurt me. Nah, this church, nah. All right, that church wasn't for me. Watch out. Cause I'm stuck on God. Like I know who called me. I know who's behind me fighting.
Yeah. So
nothing should, like, I would just say set God at that foundation. Let Him sit on the throne of your heart. Yeah. And once you do that, it's impossible to be removed.
Let me say this: we're human. We're gonna experience hurt. You know what I mean? I don't care how Christian you are, how godly you are. You're going to get hurt by some things people say. Yeah. But don't let that be your validation. Yeah. You know what I mean? Don't, like, people hurt me all the time, but I'm not fully, swept by it because I am founded on Christ. Yeah. So there are things people are going to be like, man, that hurt. But I'm cool because I'm not founded on what they said. I'm founded on God's word and what He said about me. Because I think a lot of us is like, man, I'm never gonna be hurt. People say whatever this stuff, and yeah, people.
Or some people just think that they're just strong to the point where they're like
100%.
And it's like no, like we're all vulnerable. We're all gonna get to that point where we feel broken, where we feel less, where we feel like we're not important. And just that one word from somebody that's so important to you, that one, and the devil uses the people closest to you to hurt you. Yeah. So you get home one day randomly, your mom tell you look fat, and that's something that you've been struggling with. It's gonna hurt. So we all have that. We're all vulnerable at some point, and that's why it's so important to set God as that firm foundation, because like to the point where nobody can move you. Yeah.
Well, focus on God and believe that God is going to lead the right people to you. Like I came through seasons where I have experienced hurt from people that I have wanted to isolate myself. I'm like, bro, I can't be around nobody. And sometimes when I know how it feels when you experience that deep hurt from somebody that you truly trusted, you don't want to deal with nobody anymore because you feel like you can't believe.
It kind of sets that barrier.
Like you can't believe for a better friendship. You can't believe for a better, girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever the case is.
And that's why, like I feel like that's like a stronghold basically that the enemy gets, and that's why it's so important to know how firm you are with God to the point where that can't become a stronghold. Yeah. Because once you give the enemy that stronghold, that minor, hatred or little grudge that you have against that person, that's already creating something that eventually it'll get buried in your heart and it'll be there until God delivers you. Right. So just knowing how to that person hurt me, God bless them. Hey, cool. I'm not, you know what, God, it was maybe for a person. I've came to understand that everything, even if my, this water bottle falls right now,
Yeah.
It's for a purpose. Like, God has a purpose in everything. There's no coincidence. So if somebody hurts you, God allowed it to make you stronger.
Yeah.
If somebody, like, everything has a purpose in God. So just start changing mindset on, like, oh, the world's against me and, like, I'm always getting hurt. No, you're not. The enemy's always going to try to use the people around you and your circumstances to lie to you. It's like right now, I was watching this Instagram reel, and the girl was talking about how the devil, all he uses is 2 truths and 1 lie. He tells you, you woke up late, you haven't done nothing with your life, you're not where you want to be in life, oh, you're worthless.
Yeah.
And that's how quick the enemy comes into your life. Like,
Yeah.
bro, you wake up and the enemy already trying to attack you.
Yeah.
Think about this. This is the spiritual realm, right? This is heaven and hell.
Yeah.
You're right in the middle. They're both pooling. Whichever one you feed more, that's what's going to have more power over you. You got to close all strongholds. Anything, access that you give into the enemy, any door you may have open, close that. Run from that. Like,
100%.
give God and his angels and that kingdom more power to pull you closer to him.
Yeah.
And how do you do that, Gary? I just say prayer, fasting, worship, and community. Like, 4 top key things right there. Like, that's so important to keep in mind.
Yeah. That's big, man. That's so much great wisdom right there. And, like, honestly, Jariel, I love where, bro, you have been through a journey. You're young, serving the Lord.
Yeah, it's been tough.
You have experienced all of God's fruit. And I can't wait to see what God does in your next season. And I believe God's going to do so much great things through you. So, guys, thank you so much for this episode, for listening and tuning in. I pray that this episode impacts you where you're at. And we can't wait to see you for the next episode.
God bless you guys. Hey, I already gave y'all the 4 top things right there. Do
top
that.
Things.
See God. Build that firm foundation.
Yep.
Hey, young in faith.
All right, cool, bro. Good seeing you. All right.